They say you can't see yourself unless you look in a mirror. That's a lie. I was looking at myself right now. I stood in the shadows of the large oak tree across the street, the collar of my cheap, thrift store trench coat pulled up against the biting November wind. Rain lashed against my face, but I didn't feel it. I hadn't felt cold, truly cold, since the solitary confinement cell in St. Jude's Center for the Criminally Insane. Across the street, the golden light of the living room spilled out onto the wet lawn. It was my house, the Victorian Revival on Elm Street with the wraparound porch. I had picked out the blue paint for the shutters. I had planted the hydrangeas that were now withered by winter frost. And inside, walking past the window with a glass of red wine in her hand, was me. Well, it looked like me. It had my high cheekbones, my emerald green eyes, my cascading auburn hair. It wore my silk robe and walked with the grace I had spent a lifetime perfecting. But it wasn't me. It was Bella. Bella, my twin sister. The rot in the apple. The shadow that had been chasing me since the womb. A man walked into the frame of the window. Mark. My husband. My heart hammered against my ribs, a painful physical thud. He looked older than I remembered. 3 years had put a little gray in his beard, but he was still handsome in that rugged, architect way I had fallen in love with. He walked up to the woman who stole my face. He wrapped his arms around her waist. He kissed her neck. She threw her head back and laughed. It was a performance. I knew that laugh. It was sharp, brittle like cracking glass. But Mark didn't know. He thought he was holding his wife, Ilara. He didn't know that Ilara was standing in the mud across the street, holding a serrated knife in her pocket, watching her life play out like a movie she had been cut from. I touched the scar on my hairline, the one Bella had given me the night she erased me. "Enjoy the wine, sister," I whispered, my voice raspy from disuse. "It's the last peaceful drink you're ever going to have." Chapter 2. The Vintage 2021. To understand the hate, you have to understand the love. Or what I thought was love. 3 years ago, my life was perfect. I was the good twin. I was the successful interior designer with the perfect marriage and the beautiful home. Bella was the troubled twin. She was the drifter, the addict, the one who borrowed money and never paid it back, the one who burned bridges just to watch the sparks. But we were identical. Mirror image. The only difference was a small star-shaped mole on Bella's left shoulder, and the cold deadness in her eyes when she didn't think anyone was watching. It was our 30th birthday. Mark was away on a business trip in Tokyo. Bella had suggested a sister's getaway. A weekend at a secluded cabin in the Adirondacks. Just us. Reconnecting. "I want to get clean, Ilara," she had told me, tears in her eyes. "I want to be like you. Help me." I fell for it. I always fell for it. The first night at the cabin was lovely. We cooked pasta. We reminisced about our childhood. Bella seemed stable, soft even. Then came the wine. "I brought a special vintage," she said, popping the cork. "To new beginnings." We sat by the fire. I took a sip. It was bitter, heavy on the tannins. But I drank it because I wanted to believe her. 10 minutes later, the room started to tilt. "Bella." I slurred, the glass slipping from my hand and shattering on the hearth. I don't feel right." I looked up at her. She wasn't swaying. She hadn't drunk her wine. She was sitting in the armchair, watching me with a look of pure predatory fascination. "You have such a perfect life, Ilara," she said softly. Her voice wasn't slurred. It was crystal clear. "Mark loves you so much. The bank accounts are full. The house is warm. It must be nice. Bella. Help." My limbs felt like lead. I slid off the sofa onto the rug. She stood up and walked over to me. She loomed over me, a giantess in the firelight. "I'm tired of being the screw-up, Ilara. I'm tired of the cold. I think it's my turn to be the good one." She knelt down. She pulled a syringe from her pocket. "What?" I tried to crawl away, but my muscles had turned to water. "It's just a little cocktail I mixed," she whispered, stroking my hair. "It's going to make you sleep. And when you wake up, you're going to be very, very confused. You're going to be angry. You might even be violent." She injected the needle into my neck. "And that," she smiled, "is exactly what the doctors expect from Bella." The last thing I felt was her hands unbuttoning my blouse, stripping me of my clothes, stripping me of my name. The last thing I heard was her whispering in my ear. I'll take good care of Mark. I promise. Chapter 3, Room 402. I woke up in a white room. It smelled of antiseptic and urine. My arms were strapped to a bed. I screamed. I screamed for Mark. I screamed for the police. A nurse walked in. She was a large woman with eyes devoid of pity. Now, Bella, she said. Calm down. You're having an episode. I am not Bella. I shrieked, thrashing against the restraints. My name is Alara Vance. I am an interior designer. My sister drugged me. Call my husband. The nurse just sighed and made a note on her clipboard. Paranoid delusions. Identity dissociation. Maintaining the narrative that she is her twin sister. Dr. Evans warned us about this. Dr. Evans. The doctor Bella had been seeing for years. The doctor she had manipulated. It took me a week to realize the full extent of her trap. Bella hadn't just swapped our clothes. She had swapped our lives. She had driven my unconscious body to the state-run psychiatric facility, where she was scheduled to check in for a court-ordered rehab stint. She had used her own ID to check me in. She had told them that Bella was spiraling, that she believed she was Alara, and that she might be dangerous. Because we were identical, no one questioned the photo ID. The fingerprints weren't in the system yet. And meanwhile, Bella, wearing my clothes, driving my car, carrying my phone, had driven back to my house. When Mark returned from Tokyo, he didn't come home to his wife. He came home to Bella. But Bella is an actress. A chameleon. She knew everything about me. She knew my perfume. She knew how I took my coffee. She knew the passcode to my phone because she had watched me type it in 1,000 times. I spent the first 6 months fighting. I demanded DNA tests. I demanded to see Mark. But in a mental institution, claiming you are someone else is the primary symptom of insanity. The more I fought, the more they sedated me. Mark visited today. A doctor told me one afternoon, 6 months in. Let me see him. I begged. Please, just 5 minutes. He'll know. He'll know I'm Alara. He doesn't want to see you, Bella, the doctor said gently. He's heartbroken. He says you, Bella, have caused his wife Alara so much pain. He's paying for your treatment, but he wants no contact until you admit who you are. It broke me. Bella was playing the role of Alara so perfectly that Mark was paying for Bella's treatment, thinking he was helping his wife's troubled sister. I stopped screaming. I stopped fighting. I went silent. I realized that Alara, the sweet, trusting Alara, had to die in that room. If I was going to survive, I had to become something else. I had to become something cold enough to kill my own reflection. Chapter 4. The Parole. It took 3 years. 3 years of eating flavorless mush. 3 years of group therapy where I pretended to have breakthroughs about my addiction. 3 years of studying the behavior of the cured. I learned to lie. I learned to manipulate the doctors. I admitted to being Bella. I cried fake tears about my jealousy of Alara. I apologized for stealing her identity during my psychosis. I just wanted to be her. I told Dr. Evans, looking down at my hands. She's so perfect. I hated myself. So I pretended to be her. Dr. Evans bought it. That's a massive step, Bella. Acceptance. They processed my release on a rainy Tuesday in November. I walked out of the facility with a plastic bag containing the clothes Bella had dressed me in 3 years ago. Ripped jeans and a flannel shirt. I had $40 in cash given to me by the state and a bus ticket to the city. I didn't call Mark. I couldn't. Not yet. If I walked up to him now, looking like a mental patient claiming to be his dead wife metaphorically, he would just call the police. Bella would gaslight him. She would say, "Oh look, poor Bella is off her meds again." I needed proof. I needed leverage. And I needed to terrify her. I took the bus to the city. I slept in a shelter for 2 nights. I worked day labor cash jobs, cleaning construction sites, until I had enough money for a burner phone and a black trench coat to cover my rags. Then I went to the one place Bella wouldn't have checked. My safety deposit box at the downtown bank. We had a joint account, yes. Bella would have drained that or taken it over. But 3 years and 1 month ago, just before the trip, I had inherited a small antique ring from my grandmother. I had placed it in a private box at First National, intending to surprise Mark with the appraisal value later. I walked into the bank. This was the first test. I didn't have ID. I looked rough. But I knew the manager, Mr. Henderson. "Can I help you, miss?" the teller asked, eyeing my dirty coat. "I need to speak to Arthur Henderson," I said, projecting the voice of Alara Vance. The voice of authority. "Tell him it's regarding the Sterling account." Arthur came out. He frowned when he saw me. He saw Bella. "Bella?" he asked, confused. "I thought you were away." I lied smoothly. "Alara sent me. She's indisposed. She gave me the key code. She wants me to retrieve the grandmother's ring for cleaning." Arthur hesitated. "I really should call Alara." "Please don't," I said, leaning in, letting my eyes fill with tears. "It's a surprise. Mark's anniversary is coming up. Alara wants to surprise him, but she's swamped with the gala planning. You know how she gets about the charity ball." It was a guess. I always plan the charity ball in November. If Bella was playing me, she would be planning it too. Arthur smiled. "Ah yes, the gala. She's been stressing about it all week when she comes in." "Very well." He let me into the vault. He verified my fingerprint. This was the key. We were identical twins. Our DNA was the same. But fingerprints? Fingerprints are different. But Arthur didn't scan the print against a database. He scanned it to open the box. And the box was registered to Alara Vance. When I put my thumb on the scanner, the light turned green. Arthur didn't notice. He thought I was Bella, authorized by Alara. He didn't realize the machine just confirmed I was Alara. I took the ring. It was a 3-carat sapphire. I pawned it an hour later at a shady shop on 4th Street for $5,000 cash. Now I had capital. Now the game could begin. Chapter 5: The Intruder. Which brings me back to the window. I watched Mark turn off the living room lights. I watched the upstairs bedroom light flicker on. The shadow of my sister undressing in my bedroom, lying in my bed. I waited until 2 a.m. I knew the house better than she did. I knew that the third step on the back porch creaked. I knew that the kitchen window lock was faulty. Mark had promised to fix it for 5 years and never did. I slipped the knife into the lock latch. Clicked open. I slid into the kitchen. It smelled of lavender cleaning spray, my smell. She was maintaining the illusion down to the molecules. I moved silently through the house. I wasn't here to kill her. Not tonight. Death was too easy. I wanted her life to crumble first. I wanted her to feel the insanity she had forced on me. I crept up the stairs. The master bedroom door was ajar. I could hear Mark's heavy breathing. Peered in. They were asleep. Mark was on his back. Bella was curled on her side, facing the door. I stepped into the room.
I stod over her.
I looked down at the face that was my own. In sleep she looked innocent. But I knew the monster underneath. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the item I had bought with the pawn money. It was a tube of lipstick.
Crimson Noir.
The shade I used to wear. The shade Bella hated because she said it made me look stuck up. I leaned down, inches from her face. My heart was racing so fast I thought it would wake them. But my hand was steady. I wrote on the mirror above the dresser. Then I took the lipstick and did something riskier. I gently, ever so gently, lifted Bella's hand where it rested on the pillow. I wrote a single letter on the back of her hand. "E." She stirred. She mumbled something in her sleep. I froze. Then she settled. I backed out of the room. I slipped down the stairs, out the kitchen window, and into the night. The next morning I sat in a diner across town, eating breakfast. I imagined the scene. Bella waking up. Bella seeing the letter E on her hand. Bella looking at the mirror. On the mirror, in blood-red lipstick, I had written,
I'm a vaca.
It was the opening move. She would think she was hallucinating. She would think the Bella madness was catching up to her. She would try to hide it from Mark. Paranoia is a slow poison. And I had just administered the first dose. Tonight was the charity ball. The perfect life event of the season. I finished my coffee. I had a dress to buy. I had a hair appointment to dye my hair back to its rightful, rich auburn. Tonight, Alara Vance was going to attend her own party. But not as the wife. As the nightmare. A pawn shop on 4th Street is not where you usually find high fashion. But I didn't need a designer label. I needed a weapon. I found it on a rack of vintage prom dresses. It was a deep blood-red silk gown. Floor-length backless with a plunging neckline. It was aggressive. It was the kind of dress Alara Vance would never wear. Alara Vance, the real one, wore pastels, navy blues, and modest cuts. She was elegant, understated. Bella, playing the role of Alara, would be wearing something safe tonight. Something white or cream. She was overcompensating, trying too hard to be the good wife. I, on the other hand, was going to be the crazy sister. I used the rest of the ring money to book a high-end salon appointment under a fake name. I want it sleek, I told the stylist. Straight as a pin. Sharp. When I spun the chair around, I didn't recognize myself. The wild woman from the asylum was gone. The timid interior designer was gone. In the mirror stood a femme fatale. My auburn hair was a curtain of silk. My makeup was dark, smoky, dangerous. I looked like Bella used to look before the drugs took her. But sharper. I put on the red dress. Fit like a second skin. Tonight was the Children's Hospital Charity Gala. It was the biggest event of the year. Mark would be there. The mayor would be there. And Bella would be there, playing the gracious hostess, holding Mark's arm, drinking the champagne she loved so much. I checked my purse. One ticket. Stolen from a scalper online using the last of my cash. One tube of lipstick. And a small velvet pouch containing a specific item I had retrieved from the house during my break-in the night before. I hailed a taxi. Where to, lady? The Grand Hotel, I said. And drive fast. I have a sister to terrorize. Chapter 7: The Doppelganger. The ballroom was dripping with crystals and hypocrisy. A string quartet played Vivaldi. Waiters circulated with trays of caviar. I walked in. The effect was immediate. Because I was identical to the hostess, heads turned. But they didn't see Alara. They saw the troubled twin who was supposed to be locked away. I saw the whispers ripple through the crowd like a wave. Is that the sister? I thought she was in a facility? My God, she looks stunning. Better than Alara, actually. I walked with a predator's gait. Shoulders back, chin up. I didn't hide. I grabbed a glass of champagne from a passing tray and downed it in one swallow, just to play the part. Then I saw them. They were standing near the ice sculpture. Mark looked dashing in his tuxedo, though his smile didn't reach his eyes. He looked tired. Living with a sociopath drains you, even if you don't know she's a sociopath. And Bella. She was wearing a pale gold dress. Modest. Boring. Her hair was in a tight bun. She was playing the role of the saint perfectly. She was laughing at something the mayor said. Then her eyes swept the room. They landed on me. I stood in the center of the room, a splash of blood red in a sea of black and white. I raised my empty glass to her and smiled. Bella Frosi. She actually dropped her clutch. I saw her mouth form the word no. She had woken up to the message on the mirror. I'm awake, but she had convinced herself it was a hallucination. A side effect of guilt or stress. But I wasn't a hallucination. I was flesh and blood, standing 20 feet away, looking better than she did. Mark followed her gaze. He turned. He saw me. His eyes went wide. Bella. I walked toward them. The crowd parted. This was theater, and I was the lead actress. Hello, family. I purred, my voice low and sultry. Bella. Mark stepped forward, looking confused. What are you? You're supposed to be at St. Jude's. Dr. Evans said you weren't ready for release. Dr. Evans is a pessimist, I lied, stepping into his personal space. I smelled him, cedar and rain. My husband. The man I had slept next to for 5 years. The pain of being this close and not being able to touch him was agonizing, but I shoved it down. I missed you, Mark, I said, ignoring Bella completely. Did you miss me? Mark looked at Bella, then back at me. We were worried about you. Were you? I turned my gaze to Bella. She was pale. Her hands were trembling. She couldn't make a scene. If she screamed, arrest her, she would look crazy. She had to play the concerned, loving sister. Bella, she choked out, her voice high and tight. You look healthy. We didn't know you were out. Surprise, I said. I thought I'd crash the party. It is our birthday coming up, isn't it, sister? I reached out and touched the pearl necklace she was wearing. It was my mother's necklace. Lovely pearls, I whispered. They look heavy on you. Bella flinched as if I had burned her. Chapter 8. The Gaslight. The dinner began. I wasn't assigned a seat, but I pulled a chair up to the main table, right across from them. No one dared stop me. I was the unpredictable twin. I spent the next hour dismantling her composure. I told stories. Do you remember Ilara? I said, addressing Bella loudly enough for the table to hear. That time we went to the cabin in the Adirondacks? The wine. Bella choked on her water. Bella, please, Mark said gently. Let's not talk about the past. Oh, but the past is so fascinating, Mark, I said, leaning my chin on my hand. It's where all the bodies are buried. Metaphorically speaking. I turned to the woman next to me, the wife of a bank CEO. Did you know my sister has a terrible memory lately? She forgets the smallest things, like her husband's allergies, or her own passwords. Mark looked up, frowning. Actually, Ilara has been forgetful lately. Stress, I think. Stress, I nodded. Or maybe she's just losing track of who she is. I saw the cracks forming in Bella's mask. She was sweating. She was drinking wine fast, too fast. The perfect wife facade was slipping. She was terrified that at any moment, I would stand up and scream the truth. But I didn't. That would be messy. I wanted Mark to figure it out. I wanted him to feel the dissonance. The music started. People moved to the dance floor. Dance with me, Mark, I said, standing up. I don't think. Mark started. Just one dance, I challenged him. For old time's sake. Unless your wife forbids it. I looked at Bella. She looked ready to vomit. But she nodded weakly. Go ahead, honey. Be nice to her. She's fragile. Mark stood up. He took my hand. We walked to the dance floor. He put his hand on my waist, on the silk of the red dress. The moment we touched, I felt a shockwave go through him. Bodies have memories. He knew the feel of my waist. He knew the height of my shoulder. He knew the way I moved. Bella moved like me, but she didn't feel like me. We began to sway to the music. You seem different, Bella, Mark said quietly. Clearer. Sharper. The asylum changes a person, I said. It strips away the lies. I looked up into his eyes. Mark, I said softly, do you love her? He hesitated. Of course I love Ilara. She's my wife. Does she make you happy? He looked over my shoulder at Bella, who was watching us like a hawk from the table. She's changed, Bella. Ever since that weekend you two went away. She came back distant. Cold. She tries, but it feels like she's acting. I miss the way she used to be. My heart broke. He knew. Subconsciously, he knew. I leaned in close. I pressed my chest against his. I whispered in his ear using my real voice, the soft, intimate voice I used to use when we were in bed. The strawberry patch is dying, Mark. You forgot to water it. Mark stopped moving. He froze in the middle of the dance floor. The strawberry patch was a tiny garden behind our garage. It was our secret. Bella didn't know about it because it was hidden behind the shed. Only Mark and I knew. What did you say? He whispered, pulling back to look at me. His face was pale. I said the strawberries are dying, I repeated, smiling sadly. You should check on them. How? He shook his head. Ilara never told you about the patch. She said it was our secret. Ilara tells me everything, I lied. Or maybe I just know things she's forgotten. I let go of his hand. Thank you for the dance, Mark. I walked away, leaving him standing there, staring at me with a look of profound, terrifying confusion. The seed was planted. Chapter 9. The bathroom stall. I went to the ladies' room. I knew Bella would follow. She couldn't help herself. I stood at the sink, reapplying the blood-red lipstick. The door banged open.
Bella Rashdin.
She locked the door behind her. The mask was gone. Her face was twisted in rage and panic. What are you doing? She hissed, marching up to me. How did you get out? I paid Dr. Evans to keep you there forever. Inflation, I said coolly, blotting my lips. The price of silence went up. Or maybe I just got bored. You need to leave, she threatened. Right now. Or I will call the police and tell them you attacked me. I'll tell them you're having a psychotic break. They'll drag you back to the padded cell, Alara. And this time, I'll tell them to lobotomize you. I turned to face her. It was like looking in a mirror, but a distorted one. You could do that, I agreed. But then you'd have to explain this. I reached into the velvet pouch in my purse. I pulled out a small leather-bound notebook. Bella's face went gray. It was her diary. The one she kept hidden under the loose floorboard in the guest room. The one I found last night. You really should be more careful where you hide things, I'd said. It's all in here, Bella. The plan. The drugs. The jealousy. The way you practiced my signature for weeks. The way you hated sleeping with Mark at first because he smelled too clean to. Give me that. She lunged for it. I sidestepped her easily. She was soft from 3 years of luxury. I was hardened by 3 years of survival. I grabbed her wrist and twisted it behind her back, slamming her face into the mirror. Listen to me, you parasite. I whispered into her ear. I could go out there and read this to the whole room. I could destroy you in 5 minutes. Why don't you? She wheezed. Because that's too easy, I said. Prison is too good for you. I want you to lose everything first. I want Mark to look at you with disgust. I want you to feel the walls closing in just like I did. I released her. She stumbled back, rubbing her wrist. I'm going to take my life back, Bella. Piece by piece. And you're going to watch it happen. I tucked the diary back into my purse. Oh, and by the way, I said, walking to the door. Mark knows about the strawberries. You might want to come up with a lie for that. I walked out, leaving her shaking in the bathroom. Chapter 10: The Drive Home. I didn't stay for dessert. I left the hotel and vanished into the night. I didn't go to a shelter. I had stolen a credit card from Bella's purse during our scuffle in the bathroom. It was my credit card, technically. I checked into a boutique hotel downtown. I ordered room service. I took a hot bath. I turned on the TV. I imagined what was happening in the car ride home for them. Mark driving, silent, gripping the wheel. Bella in the passenger seat, terrified, trying to explain why her crazy sister knew about the secret garden. Mark wondering why the crazy sister felt more like his wife than the woman sitting next to him. My phone buzzed. I had bought a burner phone. I had slipped the number into Mark's pocket when we were dancing. A risky move. New message. It was from Mark. Who are you really? I smiled. I didn't reply. Chapter 11. The swap begins. The next morning, I began the physical dismantling of her life. I used the credit card to access our online banking. Bella had changed the passwords, of course. But she was lazy. She used variations of the same password. Bella wins one. I got in. I didn't drain the accounts. That would alert the bank. Instead, I started canceling things. I canceled her upcoming spa appointments. I canceled the caterers for the dinner party she was hosting on Friday. I changed the shipping address for her Amazon orders to the homeless shelter downtown. Small things. Gaslighting things. Then I went bigger. I logged into her email. I sent an email to Mark's mother, my mother-in-law, a woman who hated tattoos and impropriety. I attached a photoshopped picture of Alara getting a massive tramp stamp tattoo. Subject: living on the wild side. I watched the chaos unfold from afar. 2 days later, I was sitting in a park across from Mark's office. It was lunchtime. Mark walked out. He looked exhausted. He sat on a bench, holding a sandwich he wasn't eating. He walked over. I was wearing normal clothes now, jeans, a sweater. I looked like the old Alara. Is this seat taken? I asked. Mark looked up. He jumped. Bella. Hi, Mark. I sat down. I didn't get too close. You slipped that number in my pocket, he said. Why? Because I wanted to talk to you. Without her listening. She's your sister, Mark said, rubbing his temples. She's terrified of you. She says you threatened her in the bathroom. She says you have a knife. She says a lot of things, I said calmly. Does she say why she didn't know about the strawberries? Mark went silent. She said she forgot. Trauma from the accident last year. What accident? She fell down the stairs, Mark said. Hit her head. She's been foggy since then. I laughed. Convenient. I looked at him. Mark, look at me. Really look at me. He looked. His eyes searched my face. 3 years ago, I said. We went to a cabin. Do you remember what you said to me before I left? You were at the airport, heading to Tokyo. Mark frowned. I said have a good time. No, I said softly. You whispered something. You said, don't let Bella borrow money. Mark's face went slack. I never told anyone that. I whispered it in your ear at the gate. I know, I said. Because I'm Alara. Mark stood up, backing away. No, that's impossible. Alara is at home. You're Bella. You're sick. Dr. Evans said you would try this. He said you would research my life to try and trick me. Dr. Evans is sleeping with her, I said. It was a guess, but an educated one. Bella seduced everyone she needed to use. Mark looked like he was going to be sick. Stop it. Just stop. Stay away from us. He turned and walked away fast, almost running. He didn't believe me yet. But the doubt was a cancer. It was growing. I watched him go. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Bella. She must have seen the credit card charges. I know you're out there. If you don't disappear, I'm going to kill Mark. I swear to God, Alara. I'll make it look like an accident. I stared at the screen. The game had changed. She was threatening him now. I typed back. Touch him, and I won't just send you to prison. I'll send you to hell. I stood up. It was time to go home. Not to visit. To move in Friday night. The night of Bella's dinner party. Or rather, the night she planned to end it. I watched the house from the tree line. The guests had been cancelled, courtesy of my hacking. But Bella hadn't told Mark. She wanted him alone. Her text message, I'll make it look like an accident, wasn't a bluff. Bella was a creature of impulse. If she felt the walls closing in, she wouldn't surrender. She would burn the building down. Rain hammered against the roof of the Victorian house. A storm had rolled in off the coast, knocking out the streetlights, plunging Elm Street into darkness. It was perfect. I saw Mark through the kitchen window. He was pacing on the phone, probably calling the caterers I had cancelled, confused. Bella walked into the frame. She was wearing a white cashmere sweater, my favorite sweater. She looked pale, erratic. She was holding 2 glasses of scotch. I saw her hand hover over one of the glasses. I saw a small packet of white powder empty into the amber liquid. She swirled it. My blood turned to ice. She wasn't waiting. She was going to kill him tonight, blame it on a heart attack or an overdose, and disappear with the life insurance money before the crazy sister could expose her. I didn't have time for stealth anymore. I ran across the lawn, mud splashing my legs. I reached the back door. It was locked. I didn't bother picking it. I grabbed a heavy stone garden gnome from the porch, a hideous thing Bella had bought, and smashed the glass pane of the door. The sound of shattering glass was swallowed by a crack of thunder. I reached in, unlocked the deadbolt, and burst into the kitchen. Chapter 13: The Reflection. Mark had the glass to his lips. Don't drink it. I screamed, my voice tearing through the domestic silence. Mark froze. He lowered the glass, spinning around. Bella dropped her own glass. It shattered on the tile floor. For a moment, nobody moved. The kitchen was a tableau of terror. Mark looked at me. Then he looked at Bella. Then back at me. We were identical. I had dyed my hair back to auburn. I was wearing jeans and a blouse similar to Bella's. We were reflections, separated only by the gun in Bella's waistband, which she now pulled out. I told you, Bella hissed, raising the pistol. It was Mark's gun. She had taken it from the safe. I told you to stay away. Bella. Mark stammered, looking at the woman with the gun. Then he looked at me. Alara. She's not Alara. Bella screamed, her face twisting into a mask of rage. She's the crazy one. She escaped. She broke in here to kill us, Mark. She poisoned the drink. I broke in to save you, I said, stepping forward, hands raised. Put the glass down, Mark. It's loaded with enough fentanyl to kill a horse. She raided the medicine cabinet. Mark looked at the scotch in his hand. His hand was trembling. He set it down on the counter slowly. Who are you? Mark whispered, looking between us. Which one is my wife? I am.
Bella shouted.
Baby, look at me. It's Alara. We've been married for 8 years. This is my sister. She's sick. She's trying to confuse you. She's lying, I said calmly. I didn't shout. Elara Vance didn't shout. Mark, 3 years ago, you whispered at the airport gate. Don't let Bella borrow money. You remember. I told you that. Bella countered quickly. I told you that yesterday. You're gaslighting him. She was smart. She was trying to claim the memory I had revealed to Mark in the park. Mark, I said, ignoring her and focusing on him. Look at her shoulder.
Bella flinched.
The mole, I said. The star-shaped mole on the left shoulder. Bella has it. I don't. Mark's eyes widened. Elara has flawless skin. Bella has the mole. Exactly, Bella grinned. She reached for the collar of her sweater. Go ahead. Look. She pulled the sweater down to reveal her left shoulder. It was smooth. Flawless. There was no mole. My stomach dropped. She had had it removed. Laser surgery. Of course. She had 3 years to perfect the canvas. No mole, Bella said triumphantly.
I'm Elara.
She's the imposter. She aimed the gun at my chest. Step back, Mark. I'm going to shoot her. Self-defense. She broke into our home. Chapter 14, The Choice. Wait, Mark yelled, stepping in front of her. Don't shoot. She's dangerous, Mark. We don't know that. Mark looked at me. He was crying now, tears of pure confusion and terror. I don't know who to believe. You look the same. You sound the same. Ask us something, I said. Something only I would know. She read my diary.
Bella screamed.
She knows everything because she stalked me. It's a trick. Mark ran a hand through his hair. Okay. He looked around the kitchen. Desperate. The honeymoon. Santorini. The last night. What did we do? We sat on the balcony, Bella said instantly. We drank wine. We talked about naming our first child Leo. Correct, Mark whispered. Because I told her that. I interrupted. When we got back. Sisters talk. Okay, Mark said, shaking. Something else. The dog. Buster. The day he died. It was a Tuesday, Bella said. Vet put him down. We buried him under the oak tree. Correct, Mark said, moving closer to Bella. I felt the ground slipping away. Bella had studied my life. She had lived it for 3 years. She knew the facts. But she didn't know the feelings. Mark, I said softly, ask about the miscarriage. The room went dead silent. Bella blinked. For the first time, she looked uncertain. It was a subject we never talked about. A pain so deep Elara had buried it. Bella knew about it, medically, but she didn't know the details. What about it? Mark whispered, his voice cracking. Where were we? I asked him. Not the hospital. Before that. When I told you I was losing it. Mark looked at Bella. Where were we, Elara? Bella hesitated. She was calculating. The bedroom, she guessed. I woke up bleeding. Mark's face hardened. He turned to me. We were at the grocery store, I said, tears spilling down my face. In the cereal aisle. I felt the cramp. I dropped a box of Cheerios. You tried to pick them up, but I grabbed your hand and said, Mark, it's gone. You held me right there on the linoleum floor while people walked by. Mark let out a sob. The cereal aisle, he whispered. He turned to look at Bella, the woman holding the gun. You're not her, Mark said. The realization hit him like a bullet. Oh my God. You're not her. Chapter 15. The Struggle. Bella's face changed. The mask of the loving wife dissolved, revealing the snarling wolf underneath. You idiot, she spat at Mark. I was a better wife than she ever was. I made you dinner. I hosted your parties. I slept in your bed. You're a monster, Mark whispered, revulsion twisting his features. Get out of my house. It's my house. Bella screamed. She raised the gun again, aiming at Mark's head this time. I earned it. I played the part. I'm not going back to the cage. Mark down. I yelled. I lunged. Not at Bella, but at the kitchen island. I grabbed the butcher block of knives and threw it at her. The heavy wood block hit her arm. The gun went off, bang, a deafening sound in the small kitchen. The bullet shattered the window behind me. Bella dropped the gun. She screamed in pain, clutching her arm. I didn't hesitate. 3 years of rage, 3 years of scrubbing floors and eating prison food, 3 years of knowing this woman stole my life. It all exploded. I tackled her. We hit the floor hard. We rolled, scratching, punching, pulling hair. It was like fighting a mirror image. She knew my moves before I made them. You stole him. I screamed, slamming her head against the floor. You stole my life. He liked me better, she shrieked, clawing at my eyes. He was bored with you. I made him feel alive. She was strong. Desperation made her strong. She managed to flip me over. Her hands went to my throat. She squeezed. Die, she hissed, her face inches from mine. Just die, Elara. You're a ghost anyway. My vision started to spot. I couldn't breathe. I clawed at her hands, but her grip was iron. Then there was a sickening thud. Bella's eyes rolled back in her head. Her grip loosened. She slumped forward, collapsing on top of me. I pushed her off, gasping for air, coughing. I looked up. Mark was standing over us, holding a heavy cast-iron skillet. He was breathing hard, looking down at the unconscious woman who wore my face. She was going to kill you, he whispered. I crawled away from Bella. I sat up, leaning against the cabinets, clutching my bruised throat. Mark dropped the skillet. He fell to his knees. He crawled over to me. Elara, he asked, terrified to touch me. It's me, Mark, I croaked. It's really me. He reached out and touched my face. He traced the scar on my hairline, the one I got the night she drugged me. I'm so sorry, he sobbed, pulling me into his arms. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. God, I slept with her. I lived with her. How did I not know? She's good, I whispered, holding him tight. She's the best actress in the world. We held each other on the kitchen floor, next to the unconscious body of my sister, while the storm raged outside. Chapter 16. The Switch. The police arrived 10 minutes later. Mark had called them. Bella was groggy, waking up as they cuffed her. I'm Elara Vance, she started screaming, reverting to the lie. That woman is my crazy sister. She attacked me. The officers looked confused. We were identical. Even battered and bruised, we looked the same. Which one is which? The sergeant asked, looking between us. I'm Elara, I said quietly. Check her fingerprints. Or check the strawberry patch behind the shed. You'll find the syringe she used to drug me 3 years ago buried there. I saw her bury it in a dream, or maybe a memory she missed. It was a bluff. But Bella's eyes widened. She's lying. Bella shrieked. She's the psycho. Also, Mark said, his voice cold and steady. He stepped forward. Check her shoulder. There's a scar from laser removal. My wife doesn't have cosmetic scars. The police dragged Bella away. She was kicking and screaming, spewing profanities that Elara Vance would never use. The mask had fully slipped. As they shoved her into the squad car, she locked eyes with me through the window. She mouthed one word soon. I watched the car drive away. The nightmare was over. Or so I thought. Chapter 17. The Aftermath. The next few months were a different kind of hell. There were lawyers. There were depositions. The state had to explain how they locked up the wrong woman for 3 years. A massive lawsuit was filed. I won millions, but money doesn't buy back time. Mark and I tried. We really tried. But the house felt haunted. Every time he looked at me, I saw the guilt in his eyes. He couldn't forget that he had loved the imposter. He couldn't forget that he had been happy with her. And I couldn't forget that he hadn't noticed the difference. We sold the house on Elm Street. We moved to a different city. But the marriage was broken. The glass had shattered, and no amount of glue could fix it. 6 months after Bella's arrest, we divorced quietly. It was amicable. We were victims of the same crime, but we couldn't heal together. I used the settlement money to start a new life in Paris. I opened a small gallery. I cut my hair short and dyed it blonde. I didn't want to see Elara or Bella in the mirror anymore. Epilogue. The Visitor. 1 year later. I went to visit her. I shouldn't have. My therapist told me not to. But I needed closure. Bella was back in St. Jude's. This time, in the high-security wing. I walked into the visitor's room. She was sitting at a metal table, wearing a gray jumpsuit. Her hair was stringy. She looked old. She looked up when I walked in. Her eyes lit up. Elara, she smiled. Or should I call you Mademoiselle now? You know where I am? I asked, chilling. I know everything, sister. I'm you. Remember? I came to tell you I forgive you. I lied. And to tell you that you'll never see the outside world again. Bella laughed. It was that dry, cracking laugh. Oh, Elara, you're so naive. Look at me. I looked. Look closer. I leaned in. Bella lowered her voice to a whisper. Do you really think they caught Bella? I frowned. What? That night in the kitchen, she whispered. When we fought. When we rolled around on the floor. My heart stopped. We look exactly alike, Elara. Even our scars are similar now. She leaned back, smiling a sane, calm smile. I'm not Bella, the woman in the jumpsuit said. I'm Elara. I froze. The room spun. What are you talking about? I'm kidding, she laughed maniacally, slamming her hand on the table. Look at your face. You were terrified. You thought for a second you were the crazy one. She cackled. The guard stepped forward. Time's up, the guard said. I stood up, my legs shaking. She was playing mind games. She was Bella. I knew she was Bella. Mark had identified her. The fingerprints matched Bella, because I had established my own prints as Elara's over the last year.